All right, friends and family. Hope you guys are doing well. Here's a question. It is Inauguration Day in the United States. New president taking over. Here's a question. How, over the last 25 years, how has each president and each presidency reflected in the stock market? All right, let's dive in. This isn't a political statement. This is just showing the truth of how each president since 2000, we're going to go 2000 to 2025, has performed in the stock market. So let me share my screen here and let's dive in. What I'm going to do, guys, is this is the QQQ on my screen here. We're going to run, from 2000. So we're going to run Bush's first presidency into Biden's presidency here. And we're going to track every 4 years. And we're going to get an idea of which president has done the best for the stock market. Now, a couple things to keep in mind is I believe in the short term, presidents can definitely affect the stock market. Long term, stock market's going to work, and stock markets are going to grow outside of presidents. Okay, so presidents have influence short term. I don't believe they have influence long term. As you can see on my chart here, long term we have gone up. Right, like we've gone up over the long haul here, but let's kind of see, because what presidents can do is they can take away the red tape for businesses, and if businesses can grow and perform really well, the stock market's going to generally grow with that. Presidents can also put a lot of red tape on businesses in America and around the world, which can limit stock market growth. Not always the case, but definitely sometimes the case, as well as there's just certain market conditions that presidencies fall under. Like, sometimes they're not going to control that there's a recession happening. Like, that's just the cards they're handed, and they got to deal with it. So let's take a look. Let's dive in here. We're going to start with Bush. He had 2 terms. Obama had 2 terms. Trump had 1 term. Biden had 1 term, and now we're moving into Trump's second term here. Maybe this can help give us a prediction for where we think the next 4 years are gonna go. Okay, so let's dive in here. Go back to my screen with the QQQ. That's what we're gonna. Now you can do this over the S&P 500, the Dow Jones. I personally like to play in the QQQ. That's where I spend a lot of time. And so let's dive in to the QQQ. All right, so George W. Bush. I love saying W. I really don't usually say. I usually say W. But George W. Bush was president of the United States of America from January 20th, 2001 to January 20th, 2009. Oof. I felt like that was a hard time in the stock market. Definitely probably the hardest time in the history of the stock market. Don't quote me on that, but I do believe that was a rough time. But let's let the data tell us here what we should be looking for. So I'm going to zoom in. I got this tool that I like to use here. It's a price range, and it can give me a percentage of up or down movement. So if we go to January 20th, which is roughly about 2001, all right, so follow along. There's right about here. I'm going to not get it to the exact date, guys, but right about there, okay, and he left January 20th, 2009. Let me just confirm that. January 20, 2009 was his last day in the office. So let's go to January 20th, 2009, which is right about, trying to get this accurate for you guys. Right about there. Oof. In George W. Bush's time as president, 8 years as president, the stock market went negative 61%. Rough. Ooh, that's not good. All right. Now, doesn't mean you couldn't make money in there. There was definitely a bottom we could have grabbed to make some money in. But hey, it wasn't a great time in the stock market. We had the dot-com crash that started in 2000. And then he got a good portion of the 2008 housing bubble crash, which took the market down roughly about 40% that time as well. Okay, so he had a 40% crash in his presidency, 2007, 2008, and he also got in. Now, he definitely didn't start the crash, and the crash didn't start when he got in. It was already going on, the dot-com but he definitely took office probably about halfway to the bottom. Went to the bottom, we recovered it roughly around 2002, and came up then. Okay, so there you go, George W. Bush. Next up was Obama. All right, Barack Obama, January 20th, 2009 to January 20th, 2017. How did he do in the stock market during his presidency? Well, let's take a look here. Let's see if we can find, there we go, right about there. And we'll go to 2017. All right, there's 2019. There is roughly about... let's find roughly about there. All right, so in the 8 years, Barack, now he definitely got in near the bottom of the '08 crash. He got in almost at the bottom, so he had all that upswing there. No real big pullbacks. Like there's a couple small ones, but nothing big during his presidency. And so his stock, when he was in, stock market was up roughly about 310%. Let me just double check that. Yeah, that's roughly about January 20th, give or take a couple days. And yeah, 310%. Wow. Okay, cool. All right, then Trump came in. That big old dog, Donald J. Trump, businessman. Some hate him, some love him. Let's see what he did. Okay, so he got in roughly about January 20th, 2017, which would have been about right there. And he was gone. When did he leave office? 2021. So let's go January 20th, 2021, which would have been right about there. All right. And his stock market was up 163% during his 4 years. Okay, so Barack did 310. Let's see here. Now, I know the math isn't, you don't just divide, you just don't divide 310 by 2, but I'm going to do that just to get an idea. And I know it wasn't perfect. So Barack's, if you divide the 310 by 2, each 4 years, he did about 155%. Donald Trump's 4 years, he did about 163%. But here's the kicker. You can see again, in Barack's 4 years, there wasn't really any pullbacks. Nothing big, just a really nice market upswing. In Trump's 4 years, he had two pretty big pullbacks. There's your 2018 pullback. Okay. And we pulled back about 20% there. Then we had the COVID. Remember COVID and all that stuff that went on? Well, we had that big COVID pullback where the market pulled back about 30% there. So Trump had two, I would say, bigger pullbacks, and yet he still did about 163% from start to finish. Not bad, right? Beating out Barack Obama's, if you divide his 8 years into four, 155% over each 4 years. And now I know it doesn't fall into that exactly, but that's the way we can do some math. Then Biden came in, and Biden is finishing up today. How did Biden do? Well, Biden only had a 60% market increase in his last 4 years. Now, he did have the market pullback of 2022. Not his fault. I would not blame that on him at all. That was just market conditions. Well, maybe you could blame it on him. I don't know. War, interest rates going up, a whole bunch of things. So anyways, but there we go. Over the last 25 years, George W. Bush did the worst. Ouch. He was negative. If you go from start to finish, Barack Obama did pretty good. Trump did the best. And Biden did okay as well. So, hey, what does the next 4 years look like? Well, hey, if it was like Trump's last presidency, then I would expect this market in 4 years to be a lot higher than it is today. If you're not invested, maybe it's time to get invested. If you're not invested well, maybe it's time to take a look at your investments, see what you're in, and get those investments working for you. Because in 4 years from now here, I'm willing to bet, and bet's not the right word to use, but I'm willing to say that in 4 years from now, the stock market will be higher, stronger, and better than it is today. That doesn't mean we won't have a pullback. It's quite possible. You've seen here every president except for Obama. Obama got in just at the right time, but George W. Bush, Clinton would have had it as well. Trump had it. Biden had it. There was always a pullback within their presidency. However, The stock market has always gone higher, not lower, when you look long term. Hopefully that inspires you guys to get in here and get ready for the next 4 years.